Paths of Glory is a 1957 film directed by Stanley Kubrick, who also had a hand in the screenplay. The story follows this French regiment of soldiers who refused to attack the German enemy, and that's because the attack would have been a complete suicide mission. And even though many did try, many were killed. So their commanding officer, this crazy general, General Monroe, he puts them on trial, or at least he puts 3 of these soldiers on trial to make an example of the whole regiment. And he's going for the death penalty. He wants these guys killed for cowardice. The man underneath this general, Colonel Dax, he was the man in charge of the charge. He basically defends these guys. He goes all out to get these guys off and to show up the farce that this trial actually is. This film is an absolutely staggering achievement. I've only seen it once. This is the first time I've seen it. Yeah, heard a lot about it, but what an incredible film. Now, visually, it's stunning. I mean, that's to be expected from Stanley Kubrick, but this is very early in his career, so even right here, you know, he was definitely on the ball. Now, I will say that a few of the war scenes have kind of dated. You know, we live in a world of post-Saving Private Ryan, you know, battle scenes these days. You look at Hacksaw Ridge, that stuff is really intense. You get right in the thick of battle with those things and you see body parts flying. It's horrendous. It really makes you feel, yeah, the futility of war. So going back and seeing war scenes in this film in which loads of people are charging across a field and you've got these little piddly explosions going off, it's kind of old school Hollywood, and it doesn't quite wash with me as well as maybe it used to, but it still looks visually striking. You know, these big wide shots of all these people marching across the fields, it's still quite something in the visual stakes. The main thing really is the characters and the story, just a really gripping story. You know, you really get to feel what these characters are going through. You have a bit of a broad spectrum, particularly amongst the 3 soldiers who have actually been put on trial. You've got this one guy who's like really macho all the way through until we get right towards the end when he finally breaks, he cracks, and this veneer kind of suddenly falls away from him. You've got this other guy who is very dignified throughout, it seems, and then another one who, yeah, kind of is filled a bit with hatred, particularly for religion. You know, this priest comes in to pray for these guys and he's having none of it because, yeah, he's just angry. But whatever their convictions, you feel for all 3 of them. Now this film is based on real incidents, and I think we've all maybe heard stories about how this stuff happened. You know, people were shot for cowardice. Well, this film gives you that framework. It shows you how, you know, from step 1 right to the horrible, horrifying final acts, how that kind of thing would happen. And it's all seen through the eyes of this commanding officer, this Dax, Colonel Dax, played brilliantly, I must say, by Kirk Douglas. I really love characters that have very strong convictions, very moral kind of characters, and who are willing to see those morals through, who are willing to fight for them and stand up for them. They're the kind of characters I really enjoy watching in movies. And, you know, like, again, go back to Hacksaw Ridge, the character of Doss, Private Doss in that, as another one of those characters. People who are willing to stand up and let their beliefs be counted for something. George McCready as General Monroe is also a real standout. He's a real spiteful character. He's one of those guys you absolutely love to hate. McCready plays him with a conviction of his own. You know, he's kind of like a general pattern without any kind of moral compass at all. He's just literally seeking his own glory. And I love how this film bookends. In fact, I love it when films do that. I love when you start with a sequence that shows you something and then you kind of hark back to that sequence when you get to the end, but you put a spin on it. You know, we see one character, which is this McCready, who is very easily swayed. He sounds like he's got these convictions that he won't walk his men into a futile battle, but the moment that, you know, medals and all that kind of stuff, promotions are suddenly put on the table, all of a sudden his convictions change, you know, and he goes down a real dark path in search of glory. And then by the time we get to the end of the film, and we get Dax, who's kind of put in a similar position. He won't fold, he won't crumble, he will stick to his guns, he will stick to his moral principles, and yeah, it's a really nice way of bookending the film and showing us just how different these two men really are. It's a really wonderful morality tale that, obviously being a war film, comments on the horrors of war, but not just the horrors that you get from fighting the enemy, but from within your own ranks. I don't think there's anything more horrific than when your own side turns against you. And this film depicts it in such a beautiful way, such a tense and gripping way, I might add. And it's all done through character, you know, and dialogue and really great performances. It's not a film that's absolutely brimming with action. So yeah, if you like something that is a bit of a courtroom drama and really great rounded characters, then this is definitely a film you need to check out. The final scene in this film it's one that makes you think. It's one where you kind of leave the film and it lingers in your mind. You kind of trying to weigh it up and question what it means. These French soldiers, they pull up this German woman. I think she's a prisoner of war, that's what I gather anyway. She clearly doesn't seem to be there by her own accord. She's crying and they're forcing her to sing. They're trying to get her to sing. And she does. She sings. And as she sings, all these men who are kind of jeering and shouting and kind of being quite aggressive towards her, they all suddenly calm, and some of them get quite tearful, and you know, they're touched by her voice. And it's just this really touching moment in which enemies suddenly have a shared experience, a communal experience. This music kind of brings them closer in some way, and it's a very touching scene that, when you look at what's come before, in which these two countries are not only fighting each other, but they're fighting themselves, you know, amongst their own ranks, and then suddenly you get this touching moment at the end where you just kind of think, yeah, it's all pointless, isn't it? It's all futile. If we can do this, we can sit down and enjoy this piece of music together and experience that. Yeah, you know, it's a really great way of getting the point across, you know, without just kind of hammering you over the head with dialogue, with people saying, this is what it's about, you know. Yeah, great scene, expertly handled by Kubrick, just as the rest of this film is. Brilliant film. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. And I strongly urge you to check it out. If you have checked it out, if you've seen this film before and you've got an opinion about it, then please do comment below and let me know what that opinion is. Until next time, however, cracking.